Hi, welcome to No Facts Needed, and today we're going to be talking about the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and we're ranking them. First, disclaimer, whatever. We're making our list based off if we were to start a team next year, a very average team, and we're going to pick these quarterbacks to put into that
average
team.
surrounding cast based on a one-season run next year.
All right, let's jump right into it. First, pretty easy.
Number 1.
Patrick Mahomes.
What?
A.K.A. Patty Mahomes, a.k.a. Kermit the Frog.
Yep.
So you want to talk about him a little bit? You know what? I will. Won the Super Bowl last year. Got the Super Bowl MVP. 2 years ago. Threw for 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards, won the MVP. Has only missed 2 games in his career. Only been 2 years, so, been pretty good. Isn't the best runner, but can still move around.
He can run.
Yeah, he can. He's not, elite, but, he can move around in the pocket, get out, take off for a first down, you know.
He had a few crazy runs in the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay. Can't make any throw, okay? Only threw 5 interceptions last year, okay?
Yeah.
The only real knock you can give him is that he has a good team around him. That's not really a good knock, but it was pretty easy, pretty cut and dry.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes, anything you want to say about him?
He's pretty good.
Pretty good.
He can launch it. He throws at angles that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Makes Aaron Rodgers look like a big dummy.
Number 2, Russell Wilson. Freaking beast for the last, 5 years.
Yeah.
Also, no MVP votes.
Whole career. Beast.
Career, pretty much.
Carrying the Hawks.
I was kind of looking through some of his stats. You want to know the craziest stat? He's never had less than 9 wins in a season, and most of them were 10+. Mm-hmm. I think he had one 9-win season, which is just insane given that what all the Seahawks have been through. You know?
I think the best thing or the worst thing for him, they literally, since their second Super Bowl, the one that they lost, they've pretty much decided they're not going to block for him.
Mm-hmm.
So he just kind of is not only throwing the ball everywhere, but he has to run from every single player on the defense at the same time, every single play.
Also, with his running and everything, has never missed a game in his career. Has never missed a game due to injury.
True.
He only threw 5 interceptions last year and had 66 completion percentage. Also, he took the most sacks in the league with 48.
Like I said, they don't block.
Also,
they ran 6 linemen more than anyone else in the league, and they gave up that many sacks.
Yeah. Also, he hasn't really ever had a number 1 wide receiver. He's had Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett, but put them on other teams, they're not as good as what they were, you know? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You want to jump into our next guy?
Who was our next guy?
Lamar Jackson.
Action Jackson.
Mr. Madden cover.
Yep.
I don't think anybody's
South Florida's finest.
Surprised by him right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing crazy. So he won the MVP last year. Most of you knew that. His stats were 36 touchdowns, 3,100 yards, and then 2 interceptions on 66% passing. Really good, you know? Guess what? That's not even his best thing. People blame him on his throwing, and that's not even his best thing, you know? Running. He freaking ran for 1,200 yards last year and 7 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
That's like running back 1 numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Broke the record.
I know. Crazy.
As long as health continues to not be an issue for him,
Yeah.
he's the best dual threat in the league.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't, nobody's convinced that he's the best pocket passer, but he doesn't really need to be because he's such a threat through the read option game, pretty much more so than any player we've ever seen before.
Okay, next guy. Aaron Rodgers.
A little bit of a down year last year, no lie.
Yeah.
Still had some games, still made some throws where you're like, what? How did he do that?
Mm-hmm.
Still has the release of death, or whatever they call it. But
he threw for 4,000 yards and only 4 interceptions, but only had 26 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
If you're elite, you probably want to get around that 30 touchdown or more, range. But I think that can be kind of put to Matt LaFleur and their running offense. They like to run the ball. He's missed 9 games in the last 6 years, but I feel like he's starting to become more injury prone than that actual number, you know?
Well,
that's not crazy, but
the year before last he played hurt, and the year before that he was hurt.
Yeah, he hasn't missed games, but he has been hurt, if that makes sense.
And he's just getting older. it's to be expected.
Yeah.
He's just not exactly the GOAT Aaron Rodgers that we saw 2 or 3 years ago. But, I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
He can still carry a squad of scrub.
And he still has that ability that when he's on fire, he's incredible. It's just when he is on fire. You know, he's starting to miss some easy passes, some checkdowns, you know.
Yeah.
And his mobility is kind of taking a hit, you know.
Well, it might also have something to do with Matt LaFleur's offense.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the same kind of system that he ran with McCarthy. From his point of view, he's just not having to do quite as much, so he's not making as many mistakes, but he's also not exactly making the crazy highlight plays like he used to.
Well, I think we can jump into our next guy, unless you got anything else to say.
No.
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun.
Kind of a...
And I put him over Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like for me to go?
Yeah, you can go. I think you like him more than I do.
Deshaun is a straight-up baller, okay? There's no way around it. He's been doing it for a long time, since he was a sophomore in college. You can deny it if you want to, but he's kind of reminding me of Russell Wilson a little bit. Outside of having having DeAndre Hopkins up until this year, I mean, he's kind of dealing with the same situation, like a O-line that sucks. So he's running for his life all the time.
He was 6th on sacks with 44. 6th ranked with 44 sacks. So, yeah, he's been running for his life.
In terms of, like, leading his team and executing on the field, I don't think there's very many players who have a combo as good as he does.
Next guy at 6, Drew Brees.
Drew Brees. Old Breezy.
You know, Drew Brees. Kind of crazy, but has had 70% completion the last 4 years and almost 75% completion in the last 2 years. He's been regressing a little bit, but he's still the same guy. Like, he didn't rely on a cannon of an arm or his mobility or anything. He relied on him standing in the pocket and throwing the ball where it needs to be. And that part hasn't...
Left him?
Exactly. Yeah. Also, he's another guy that his value comes in reading the defenses and knowing where the ball. And that still, it hasn't gone anywhere.
Who's next?
Matt Ryan at 9.
Matty Ice.
Now,
Matt Ryan's success, in large part, is completely predicated on whether or not you can protect him. So under the assumption that this is an average surrounding core, I will take Matt Ryan because he's kind of like Drew Brees in the way that he's accurate and he's got a pretty good arm in terms of throwing it down the field. But you have to keep him upright. Otherwise, I mean, he's going to fall off a cliff. And we've seen that before. But we've also seen it work in the opposite direction. If you can protect him, you can have one of the best offenses in the league because, you know, he can throw it anywhere. Inside, outside the numbers, down the field, over the middle.
Yeah. Next guy, Mathe Stafford.
This is my boy.
Yeah, you're like super high on him.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because he plays for maybe the most unstable organization in the league.
Yeah.
We could debate. Probably one of the worst head coaches in the league, unfortunately for him. He's also been injured quite a bit. But I just think you turn him, if you watch the game outside of all the analytics that go on, which I know is, I mean, you have to consider everything, but he just gets everything done. And like, he has a cannon for whatever that's worth. He can roll out, stay in the pocket, improvise. He's just everything. If he needs to go beyond the first read, he can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he plays to his receivers' strong suits. He's had all kinds of weapons cycling in and out, and he always seems to be like a constant as he can be for that team.
Yeah,
he's never been their problem. So
I think his talent is there. I'm kind of worried that he's damaged goods at this point. You know, actually, what kind of surprised me is that from 2011 to 2018, he never missed a game. Mm-hmm. But since there, he's been broken, you know? Also, something that kind of concerns me is that he's at double-digit interceptions every year. Next guy, Carson Wentz. Somebody I'm actually high on and you're not. You kind of...
I mean, I like Carson Wentz.
I think one of the biggest things for him is that he's missed 8 games in 4 years, which one of those was a major injury. Hasn't been kind of like split up. It was mostly like 6 games at one point. Something to kind of like bring up, over the last 4 years, his best wide receivers has been Golden Tate and Alshon Jeffrey, which was after their primes. And he was actually throwing to Greg Ward Jr. his last year. Even with that, he had 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Not the best numbers, but he did okay with what he had, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Has good running ability, but uses more to throw. And has the potential to be one of the best QBs in the league, even though he's not yet, you know.
I think it's a combination of two things for me with Wentz. One is he's never played a playoff game, basically.
Mm-hmm.
He's never finished one. So that's a concern, whether it's his fault or not. Second thing is he hasn't been consistent. His first year, he was okay. Second year, fantastic. Until he gets hurt, he was probably going to win MVP. After that, has he been good? Yes. But has he ever gotten back to where he was? No. And that's where it's a little bit concerning for me, because he kind of teeters between like borderline all-star and just kind of middle of the pack.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there's a reason last year why the Eagles took so long to kind of build up enough steam to finally take over their crap of a division.
Yeah.
And if you're the quarterback, at least some of that is on you. He's still dealing with a good offensive line and, I don't know, the best tight end duo probably in the league. And
I would say so.
Doug Peterson is a pretty proven play caller. So, surrounding court, as much of his issue as his receivers were the last year and a half, I would say, I still just feel like he's got to prove something before I put him over somebody like the guys we talked about before.
We can go on to our next guy.
Okay.
Kyler Murray. You know?
Yeah.
Probably kind of surprising for some people, but if you actually watch him, he jumps off the screen. You know?
He could be higher. On my list, I had him above Wentz and a lot of other people that
yeah.
we'll get into.
Well, I have him Wentz and Murray, and I think they're kind of like in the same spot where they're really good now, but they have the potential to be like top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had Wentz a little bit higher just because he's played a couple more years and knows kind of the NFL a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But for what it's worth, he played every game his rookie season as a running QB, small guy.
Despite getting freaking clapped every other play.
I mean, it's only been one season, but he did. Hasn't ever had injury concerns, but, you know, last season threw for 3,700 yards, 64%, 20 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. All those numbers for a rookie, I'd say it's like a B+, A-, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Not incredible, but pretty good for a rookie, you know. Didn't really have a wide receiver 1. He had a lot of receiver 2 on his team. And like I said, has the potential to be a carry his team when they're slacking.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, he just, like you said, jumps off the screen. We kind of mentioned it before with Patrick Mahomes, where it doesn't necessarily, it's weird because a lot of people, they'll take a look at your feet and they're like, you shouldn't be throwing like this. But these guys, I think it's the baseball background that kind of comes into play where they just sling it with perfect spin, no problem on the run, you know, running full sprint, and they can just put it anywhere they want.
Yeah.
So that kind of innate ability that he has, I think kind of gives him the potential to like push him up into rare air, so to speak, with these other guys that like are at the top of the list.
Yeah. Also a little bit is that he took the most sacks also with 48. Kind of a lot of these top guys are just getting beat up, you know. Mm-hmm. So kind of take those numbers and you can inflate them a little bit, I guess, if you wanted to. If you had more time, you'd be able to make some better passes. Well, this has been a No Facts Needed. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment.
Listen to us on Apple, Spotify.
Yep. And
watch us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter.
All at No Facts Needed. Thanks for watching. See you next time.